Lovely. So welcome everybody. Hope you're all having a good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Oops, swoopty daisy. Welcome to our training Tuesdays session. And today we're going to cover external users. I'm sure everybody has dealt with external users in some sort of way in their environment. So here we'll just clear up what they can do, what they can't, and get some more clarity on that. Alrighty, so let's take a look at our agenda for today. So, of course, welcome everybody, which we have done. So that's one ticked off. Then we'll go through our housekeeping, and then we'll give it an introduction to what we're covering today. We're going to focus on the external user experience, what it's like from their perspective, and then we'll also consider what they can't do, so the limitations that they have, and little ways that they can work around it. And we'll have a demo to show both of these things as well. And at the end, as always, we welcome questions, so do feel free to drop them as they come. So, I am James Nurma. It's a pleasure to meet you. If I haven't spoken to you already, I'm part of the Tikit help team. So when you reach out to us at help@tikit.ai, I'm one of the members that responds and tries to help you as much as I can. So let's go through to the housekeeping. So once again, we welcome interaction. So please do feel free to raise your virtual hand or your physical one if your camera's on, and or call out when you do have a question. Feel free to butt in at any point when you have that light bulb moment. And as for feedback, we welcome that as well. So please do drop an email. I see Kareem with his reactions there. Uh, please do feel free to give feedback by dropping us an email at help@tikit.ai. You can pick that up and maybe even consider some of your ideas for future sessions. Hopefully, one of my colleagues can let those coming in into the meeting. That would be perfect. And also, our schedule is available as well. I'll get this link put in the chat for you. Let's check that in there so you can see what's upcoming and what has happened in the past. Also, there's links in there to the YouTube videos of the recordings. Once again, this one will be recorded, so you'll be able to catch up on anything and that you've missed or you'd like to revisit as well. Lovely. So, the external user experience. So, as you may know already, external users can only interact with Tikit by login tickets via email. Now, Jackson covered the email connector on August 20th in his training Tuesday session. So I'll just put that link in the chat just in case you missed that. He covered that very well. So if you'd like to see that in more detail, do feel free to check that out here. I've just put that in the chat. So yeah, once again, they can only interact with Tikit via email. So MS Teams and the request portal are only available to those who have access to your Tikit tenant. So of course that would exclude the external users. But we'll talk about how we can work around that later on as well. And we'll also discuss how they can interact with agents and receive and send notifications in their emails as well. So we'll get a look at that in our demo. And then we'll also be able to see what it looks like from the agent's perspective in web.tikit.ai, what those comments look like, and how their attachments come through. But that's mainly in Jackson's previous session. So do feel free to check that out. And then we'll also take a look at the notification center and how that affects external users as well. Now, the limitations and workarounds that we're going to cover. So the first one is that, of course, external users don't have access to the request portal. Now, at the bottom of your emails, I'm sure you may have noticed already, but there's an option to have a hyperlink to that ticket so that it opens in the request portal. Now, if external users click on that, it will prompt them to log in. They don't have access to that tenant, so they can't use it. So how can they follow up on tickets and go back to ones that they may have raised before and add comments and update them. We'll cover that. Second, how to block unwanted tickets. So these tickets are usually automated responses. So if you have an automated email that usually gets sent through the email address that you've set up as your email connector, how can you stop those from generating tickets? We'll cover that as well. And then thirdly, how can external users fill out forms? If you've already experimented with our custom forms that can get linked to knowledge articles and set up as a deflection. So you send in a query, let's say a new hire, for example, and if you have a knowledge phrase and a custom form set up, it might respond straight away to that request with that form to fill out with maybe their first and last name, their department. External users, once they click that button to fill out the form, once again, they're not part of the tenant, so they won't have access to it. So how can they get that information over? What's the alternative? Cover that as well. So now it's time to see that in action. So let's take a look at the mail experience. So, oops, that's the wrong one. Stop sharing that one. Let's go into the external user mail. Let's actually pop over to this screen. Alrighty, so we're here in our demo. So here we can see the process of creating a ticket. So I'm using my james.numa@sison.com account, which is external to my tenant, which is at jnuma.onmicrosoft.com. It's not part of that tenant. So I've just dropped an email to it saying this is a brand new ticket created by an external user. I've received a response from that email connector just here, and we'll talk about how you can tailor that response in a moment. And of course, that's that link that we were talking about. This is a comment from an agent on that ticket. So external users will see that just as a regular user would within the tenant. I've dropped a reply in the thread. So we'll take a look at how that looks from the agent's end. And here as well, you can see I've got a notification to tell me that the status of the ticket has changed. So all these things are available to me as an external user. So let's take a look at it from the agent's point of view in the web portal. So as we can see here, that's that ticket. So you can see it's come through with that note that I left. This is a brand new ticket. As an agent, I posted that response and that came through via email. And I also made that change to the status that came through, and so on and so on. So how can we control the notifications that are sent there? Well, let's take a look at our notification center. Let's move this. Right. So external users, they follow this rule as well. The requester email notifications, they follow those rules. So here you can see that I've got the change status turned on. So that's why my external user received that email and that it moved from active to pending. And I've also got the send response when ticket is created on. So that's why I received that initial email as well. Now you can tailor this as you'd like. So here in the body, I've got the default one. We have received your request and we will reply shortly. And the end users see that as well. So as you can see, it's just here. It's here. So it follows the same thing there. All right, so pretty similar on that front. Now we'll tackle some of those workarounds. So since the external users don't have access to the request portal, when they click this link, they won't be able to log in. They're not part of the tenant. So what can they do? If they want to send a comment, or if they or if it's been a while and they want to find it, what can they do? Well, since they've been given the ticket number here, ticket number 634, I can I've sent a response completely separate to that thread, and in the subject of the email, I've put that ticket number, hashtag 634, and I've just put a comment there. Looking forward to hearing from you. I'm pretty eager end user, external user there. So let's see how that shows up in the ticket. See if it does show up. So we'll go back to tickets. We'll go 634. Alrighty, so looking forward to hearing from you. It shows up on the ticket just there. That would be good for a good trick for external users to know. If they've lost track of that thread, they can just simply make a note of that ticket number and include it in the subject of their email. Now, that second workaround, what if there's a ticket comes through, a ticket has been generated by an automated response? How can you stop those coming through? As you don't want to have those cluttering up your ticket list. So there's a great article on this, which I have just next to this one. M365 mailbox filtering. You may have seen it before, but this shows how you can block certain emails, maybe ones that are solely dedicated to sending those automatic responses. You can block them in the Microsoft Exchange Admin Center. So this walks you through how to do it and how you can set that rule. So if it says if the recipient is this person, you can put their email address there, and then you can tell it what to do. So you can delete the message so that it doesn't come through to their mailbox and it's not populated in Ticket, or you can also redirect it. So I have an example of that here. So in mine, I've got a separate email. I've got it to look out for jamesnoma@hotmail.com. And if that comes in, I can block it. I can also say redirect it somewhere else. So if I don't want it to go completely missing, maybe I want someone to be notified of the confirmation, but I don't want a ticket for it, I can redirect it to another mailbox that isn't set up as an email connector. So that's a good thing to take note of to keep it clutter free. Another thing also to pay attention to and look forward to is that with the impending release of Slate.js, you can customize the minimum file size for attachments. So let's say, for example, a ticket comes in from an email comes in from an external user, and they have a signature and many different images. Maybe like ours, you've got a picture of their face or their company icon. You don't want those to be registered as attachments in the ticket because they're not particularly useful. So in this upcoming release, you have the option in the settings to raise the minimum file size for that attachment, and then you'll be able to exclude the files that are sort of too small, and make sure that no unwanted attachments come through into your environment. So that's something to look forward to. I believe that release is coming tomorrow, so very exciting times. So once again, if you have a question at any point, feel free to raise your hand. Alrighty, so now we'll discuss these forms. Let me get my mailbox back up. So what am I referring to? Well, typically, since I've sent a email through, new hire, and in my knowledge base, new hire is set to give out a custom form. So here it's responded asking for that form to be filled out. Once again, if you click on that link as an external user, since you're not a member of the tenant, you can't access it. So how can you get that information over? Well, you could use any sort of third-party um, form provider. So, for example, I've used Microsoft Forms here. So I've set it up so that my ticket environment, my knowledge base, can differentiate between a personal or external email and one from an internal end user. And I'll just show you how I've differentiated that. So let's go into my knowledge base. So here, this is the one for the typical template that I want my end users to fill out. New hire, and it's just looking for the phrase is new hire, a new employee is joining. I need to hire a new employee. And since in that example that I showed, it was just new hire, so it sent that. But I've sent, because I want to pick up external ones and personal ones differently, because they can't access that form, I've made those phrases a bit more linear. So I've looked for these keywords: new hire external source, external new hire, from personal email, from external email. Now my knowledge base can really zone in and differentiate between the two. And when it detects an email like we saw in that example, so I have a new hire request, but I am sending it from my personal email, it can detect that. It's pretty clever. And then rather than sending out that template, that custom form that's for the end users within the tenant, it will send a link to this Microsoft form. And then we can see that in action here. And it's simply the external user can go to that web page, and fill it out. And you can see an example of it here. So that's a really handy thing that you can do to get around it. Now, it can be, you might be wondering how you can differentiate between these two items best. And that would be in your bot configuration settings. Now, you would want to make sure that the minimum level of confidence is a bit higher because it wants to get a lot more linear. You want to make sure that it doesn't send out that custom form, the wrong custom form, to external users. You just want that to the end users internally. So you might want to up that. I've got it at about 50, but you can test it out for yourself, and then you can get it to that perfect point to where it's able to differentiate correctly. Lovely. So that is all. I'm pretty sure. Yep, that is all that I wanted to cover on external users. Did we have any questions about it? About anything that we've covered today or anything that we haven't? Feel free to raise your virtual hand if you do. Get that questions page up. Alrighty. One, I'm not sure if that was I think it's a thumbs up rather than a hand up. Nice. If that's some feedback, that's great. Thank you. Alrighty, so I think we're good to go. So if you do have any questions that pop out to you, do feel free to email them to us at help@tikit.ai, and then we can process them and get them answered as soon as we can. And of course, if you're looking for any particular sessions going forward, if there's a subject that you really want to be covered, please do drop that in an email to us and we'll make sure to make it happen for you. So thanks again for the lovely reactions that I've seen from a few of you. Thank you again for joining. And until the next one, have a good one, everybody.
Have a good
Thanks,
week,
James.
James.
Nice one, guys. Have a good week too. See you.
Take care.